Religion has long given people a sense of belonging. Through shared rituals, lighting candles, saying prayers, and clear guidelines for right and wrong, it helps us feel part of something larger than ourselves. Stories of heroes, miracles, and moral lessons offer meaning beyond everyday life. But when belief hardens into extremes, it can cut off nuance and turn faith into a weapon. The same incense that comforts in a temple can feel oppressive when used to rally crowds to chant slogans that leave no room for doubt or difference. History shows the difference clearly. In the Middle Ages, monks lived simply and spent their days helping others and copying sacred text by candlelight, their hands stained with ink. At the same time, leaders used the same books to wage wars and take land in the name of God. Both spoke of faith. Only one turned belief into a tool of conquest. Modern extremist groups often hide behind a religious revival. Take the 1995 sarin gas attack on Tokyo subway by Aum Shinrikyo. They mixed Buddhist and Hindu symbols with doomsday talk. Followers sat in saffron robes, but also stored assault rifles. Their leader spoke about karma one minute and chemical weapons the next, twisting spirituality into a tool of total control. Traditional religious teaching usually fights these abuses. Augustine wrote in City of God that earthly power and divine grace are not the same. Yet, people still hunger for absolute answers, and extremists promise just that. Someone joining ISIS might call it a sudden awakening, as if their past life vanished. That rush of emotion, cut off from real theological debate, fuels their fanaticism. Courts struggle to draw the line. Germany outlaws Scientology's harmful acts, but defends Lutheran worship. France bans public burqas while funding church restorations. The key is whether a group causes harm, not what it believes. A 2017 study showed many extremists join because of personal trauma. Their fury runs deeper than faith. Real religion welcomes doubt alongside belief. The Talmud is full of centuries of debate and open questions. Extremism allows no doubt. Its followers speak only in absolute terms, eyes burning with the certainty that comes when you swap mystery for a strict manifesto. So the real test isn't what people believe, but what belief does. Does it open minds or shut them down? A Sufi dancer spins in joy. A suicide bomber straps on explosives. Both talk of rising above. Only one mistakes destruction for transcendence. The Crusades show how holy books were used to justify violence. In 1095, Pope Urban II told Christians that taking back Jerusalem was God's will. Soldiers marched with crosses on their shields and trampled cities under banners stitched with psalms. Faith became a weapon. In the 30 Years' War, Protestant and Catholic armies carried opposing Bible verses into battle. A 1620 flyer even showed soldiers singing hymns as they burned villages. Scripture, split by rival doctrines, fled Europe's chaos. In Rwanda, Hutu radio stations twisted the story of Cain and Abel to urge mass murder of Tutsis. Broadcasters quoted Genesis to claim genocide was God's justice. Churches that once smelled of incense became slaughterhouses. Not every conflict came from literal readings. During the Taiping Rebellion, Hong Xiuquan said God told him in visions to topple China's rulers. He mixed Christian ideas with politics and led a revolt that killed millions. Historians still debate how much his followers believed his visions or simply seized power. When sacred words lose their context, they light fires. But history also remembers those who spoke against the flames. In medieval France, Marguerite Porete was burned alive for saying God's love went beyond any doctrine. Her words lived on after the flames died. Religious identity can turn into offense when people feel threatened. The smell of incense in a Hindu temple or the call to prayer in a Muslim neighborhood stops being just ritual and becomes a claim to space. When groups compete for followers or influence, these signs get sharper. In 16th century Spain, laws about clean blood used pork-free diets to spot Jewish families and drive them out. Today, visible practices still spark conflict. A Sikh teen in Paris, forced to take off his turban for school photos, isn't facing a debate about scripture, but a demand to prove loyalty. Long ago, some Christian pilgrims ate pork before entering Muslim towns just to show defiance. Simple acts like sharing a meal can become political. But shutting people out often backfires. When Quebec banned public workers from wearing hijabs in 2019, more people went to mosque. Tightening rules can make minority groups cling harder to their traditions. At the same time, majorities sometimes respond by turning rituals into contests. A megachurch might host a public fast to show it's stronger. Food can spark violence too. In Mumbai, Hindu groups hand out free meals near mosques during Ramadan, timing it to upset those who are fasting. This isn't kindness, it's a challenge. The internet makes things worse. A video of a Buddhist monk eating steak can split people into outraged traditionalists and cheering progressives. Online platforms push the loudest takes, turning age-old practices into short-lived scandals. Governments have long used religion to back their wars. In the Crusades, claiming God's will helped the Pope cover up land grabs and power plays. Even now, leaders call on God's will to rally support, like in Russia's speeches during the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. State prayers and incense often hide the smell of weapons and blood. Religious symbols can stir up fierce loyalty. During the Yugoslav wars, Serbian fighters wore Orthodox icons while driving out Muslim neighborhoods. ISIS sewed Quran verses onto black flags to lure recruits. In Uganda, the Lord's Resistance Army anointed child soldiers with oil before attacks, a twisted use of baptism. In each case, Scripture bends to whoever holds the power. Still, faith groups don't always fall in line. In Nazi Germany, some bishops backed Hitler while others spoke out. In 1937, the Vatican issued an encyclical condemning the regime's worship of race, though it came too late to stop the killing. In Myanmar, Buddhist monks in saffron robes led candlelit protests against the military junta, turning prayer into protest. Today's battles use the internet as much as guns. Radical sermons on YouTube mix calls for jihad with footage of drone strikes. In Syria, both Assad's forces and rebel imams quoted verses to justify their attacks, each side calling the other infidels. A government tweet can now bless violence as fast as a pope's decree once did. States also crack down on faith when it opposes their wars. The Soviet Union jailed Orthodox priests who spoke against the Afghan war. In Ethiopia, the government put Patriarch Abuna Paulos in prison for denouncing the Tigray conflict, swapping his robes for prison clothes. Silence from religious leaders can be as harmful as a prayer for battle. Sacred texts last through the ages, but people decide how to use them. Augustine warned that mixing God's will with human greed only digs graves, not builds peace. Blaming one group makes big problems look simple. The Salem witch trials show this. When people faced money worries and fear, they pointed at poor women and called them witches. They needed someone to blame. Violence often starts by stripping away someone's humanity. In Rwanda, radio hosts called Tutsis cockroaches. That made a kill okay to kill them. Extremist groups do the same today with angry speeches, burning pamphlets, and demeaning words. People then bend their own minds to excuse violence. A soldier might say he's cleansing to keep feeling okay with himself. It's easier when orders come from above, but pulling a trigger still leaves a mark on your hands and your conscience. Some break free from this. During the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre, a few Catholics hid their Huguenot neighbors. They proved you can resist blind hate and help others. Violent groups push a now or never rush to stop us from thinking. Yet every photo of a lynching and every mass grave reminds us what happens when fear runs wild. The Amish live by yielding to God's will. They won't fight, even to defend themselves. That was clear after the 2006 Nickel Mines school shooting, when they publicly forgave the shooter instead of seeking revenge. They follow turn the other cheek from Matthew chapter 5 verse 39, not just war ideas. Tibetan monks protested by self-immolating from 2009 to 2013. They burned themselves, not their oppressors. Their pain spoke louder than any weapon. Quakers have opposed violence since the 1600s. During the Vietnam War, the American Friends Service Committee ran draft resistance workshops and candlelit meeting houses. They won the 1947 Nobel Peace Prize for feeding soldiers on both sides of many wars. Even in the 1534-35 Munster Rebellion, most Anabaptists later gave up arms, as stated in their Dordrecht Confession. Violence was a lapse, not a belief. The Baha'i faith forbids holy war in its main book, the Kitab-i-Aqdas. Despite persecution in Iran, Baha'is bury their dead praying, not fighting. Jain monks take non-harm further. They sweep the ground to avoid stepping on insects. In 2016, some Jain doctors in Delhi even refused to prescribe antibiotics to avoid killing microbes. Their strictness may seem extreme, but it shows their consistency. Some odd examples exist. Han Xiuquan of the Taiping Rebellion later called bloodshed Satan's delirium. Modern Rastafari condemn violence too. Haile Selassie's 1963 UN speech, played at gatherings, urged disarmament. Sufi orders like Qadriya once joined anti-colonial fights but now focus on chanting, not combat. A 2019 study found pacifist religious movements stayed nonviolent 73% longer under state pressure than secular groups. The secret? Ritual. In Chicago, Catholic workers wash each Super Bowl like a chalice when serving homeless veterans. For them, violence isn't just wrong, it goes against their sacred work. Faith rarely starts violence on its own. It more often fans the flames of other conflicts, like wind blowing embers into a fire. Wars called religious, such as the Crusades or sectarian fights, actually sprang from land grabs or power struggles. People then used faith as their battle cry. A 14th century tale from Valencia tells of rival merchants praying for divine help in trade disputes and ending up in bloodshed. Brain scans hint that strong belief lights up the same areas as loyalty to your tribe. In the 1994 Rwandan genocide, attackers sang hymns as they swung machetes, showing how ritual can cloak brutality. Yet faith can also soothe anger. During World War II, Quaker pacifists relied on their convictions to sneak refugees to safety, turning prayer into quiet courage. Whether faith becomes a tool or a weapon depends on the situation. Medieval knights swore oaths on relics to make their violence holy. Today in Myanmar, some monks twist scripture to back ethnic cleansing. An 1800s frontier preacher wrote in his diary about lynching victims found with crosses carved into them, a grim example of violence hiding behind religion. Our bodies often betray what our beliefs try to hide. Soldiers clutch rosaries so tightly their knuckles go white. Protesters march under sun-soaked hijabs. Physical strain mirrors inner conflict. Ultimately, faith doesn't make us good or evil. It reveals who we already are. It can drive us to heal wounds or to inflict them. Its true power lies in the choices we make.